Hi, this is Patty Hodge, and this is Dr. Nurse's Rock. This video is part of a series of 30 videos for the month of April, one for each day, on the topic of grief. And today I have another very special guest for you, Mr. Mikki Wade. Mikki Wade did not start life with clarity, he said. It started with chaos. Raised in a home marked by addiction, broken boundaries, and loss, Mikki experienced grief early and often. By his teenage years, he was headed down a destructive path, caught in cycles of anger, confusion, and survival. But everything changed when his life was rerouted, and he began the journey of healing, rebuilding, and discovering who he was truly meant to be. Today, Mikki is a CEO, speaker, author, and grief recovery specialist who helps others do the same. He's the founder of True Reality Incorporated and the creator of the pattern breaking method. He equips people to uncover the root of their pain, break destructive thought patterns, and rebuild a new identity rooted in truth. With over 27 years of marriage, raising his children and niece, and decades of personal and professional transformation, Mikki brings both lived experience and proven strategy to his work. His mission is simple but powerful. Help people heal what's hidden, rewire what's holding them back, and become who they were meant to be. Welcome, Mikki.
Welcome. I want to meet that guy.
Well, it seems I have met that guy. So
I received that.
so Mikki, I'm very happy that you're here, and I know that you'll help a lot of people with your message today. So why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, and how that all meshes with our topic of grief?
Sounds good. So, and first of all, thank you so much, Patricia. I appreciate what you do, creating a space for other people to tap in and heal. We need so many more spaces like this. So I just appreciate you, and I'm honored to be here. Yeah, my name is Mikki Wade, as you heard. I'll give you my story. I call it my GPS story. The Not the global positioning system, but my generational pattern system, the one that led me through a lot of things that I'm going to share about. So I was born and raised in the central part of Africa, the Congo, and I grew up with a mother that was an alcoholic, a father that was a rageaholic, workaholic, and also abusive. So by the time I was 5 years old, my first grief that I could remember that was so traumatic was my father molesting and sexually abusing me. And I say grief, and because grief, the definition that I have for grief is conflicting feelings that's caused by change or an end of a familiar pattern of behavior. See, life was okay as a child before that event. So, and then after that abuse, my father told me not to speak of it. Automatically, a belief system was, imprinted in me that you do not talk about feelings, you don't trust authority figures, and the truth doesn't set you free. The truth actually sets you in jail and it destroys everything in your family. So,
Yeah,
because my dad said, don't say anything. So
exactly.
then my mother that I would want to go to was absent. She was drinking. Now, I loved her because she was the only one that I felt compassionate with. But because her pattern was to suppress her emotions with drinking, I felt like she abandoned me for alcohol. So then I also learned to numb my pain. So those were all my classroom of grief on how to deal with my grief in my head and in my heart. So I suppressed and I used my feelings on different things. As a kid, I just played more or I just got in my room and I disappeared into this false reality that I created. That was my way of protecting myself. And now you'll understand why I call my company True Reality, because I want to remind myself that there is a true reality that I get to live, right? So we came here when I was 12 years old in the United States from Africa. I speak French. At age 13, my mother was supposed to come from Africa. She ends up dying.
Oh
And
my.
when she died, I experienced this massive grief. And I always felt abandoned by my mom when she left. And I was hoping that she'd come back, and she never did. And she would go to drinking binges. So at that age, when I was 13 years old, that was the ultimate abandonment, and like she'll never come back now. So here I am with a dad that I hate and in a different country that I don't know of. So there was so many conflicting feelings that was caused inside of me by a change of a familiar pattern of behavior, which is my definition of grief. Grief is just not death. It's the shifting of life. So anyways, so by the time I was 16, 17, and 18, I started doing things like crazy. I was smoking, I was drinking, I was womanizing, and I was hanging out with gangs. I was going crazy. And then as I kept suppressing my feelings, I got to a point when I was 21 years old, I started messing around with meth. And I had a place. I looked good on the outside. I put on a good mask because, see, again, my programming coming from how to deal with your grief, you put on a happy face while you're sad inside. I saw my dad do it. I saw my mother's do it. They cheated on each other, but yet we were very, very quote unquote a successful family in Africa, and we were well known. So we had to present ourselves as kids that, hey, we're okay. So here I am trained to be a chameleon. So I was a chameleon with my gangster friend. I've had different types of friend. I became a chameleon everywhere I went. And so by the time I was 21 years old, I couldn't take it anymore. I was doing meth and I looked good on the outside, but we were messing around with that. And I just wanted to take my life. And that was it for me. So that was that when I called a generational pattern system, it came to that end. And then God came into my life and I turned everything around. So I called it the God positioning system or the God parenting system, which was cool because I felt it was more of an inner healing of that inner child inside of me that was going through it began, right? I didn't know how deep the basement of my grief was. I didn't know how much of pain that I suppressed until I got married. So marriage kind of does things to you.
Yeah, it does.
So, and then if you want to, you could always interrupt me, ask me any questions you want, okay? Because I'll keep talking.
That's
But
okay. Keep going.
okay, so here I am. I am married at 25, 26 years old, and I meet my wife, and it was amazing. We're together, and the first couple years I didn't trust her. I was jealous. I was going crazy. And then I thought that was her fault. I just thought, okay, you need to change whatever you're doing. And then someone told me maybe you guys have to deal with what goes on inside of you, like the grief that you might have felt from your past. And I never believed in any of that. But I wanted to go to this course. It was a grief recovery class. And I went because I thought she needed it, not because I needed
Oh,
it.
gee.
So I sat there going, "Oh, you're gonna get it." Finally, somebody could help me out in this. But what happened is I ended up finding out it was on me. It was me. And since that time, there's a scripture actually that says that guard your heart. It is the wellspring of life, and everything flows from it. It's a Proverbs, which is an amazing book of wisdom. So here I am learning that my heart overflows. That means all the consequences of my life comes from an unresolved heart that is broken. And I thought, okay, well, I know what to do. I'll focus on that. So the next 20 something years, I invested over 300 grand on helping myself and going through all these classes, right? And then in 2009, I created my company, True Reality Incorporated, and it's been in business since then and helping a lot of people break free from their patterns. So I've been married for 27 years. I have three children. Well, my niece she's 4 years old. I raised her up. She's 26. My daughter is 22, and I sent you her podcast. She
Yes.
does about grief, which is amazing because at 21 I was suicidal. Now I'm sorry, my daughter is 24, my son is 22. When my son's age, I was suicide. I just told you guys.
Yeah.
It is crazy because I look back at how my life was and how my offspring, how the GPS of my life was completely turned around and the fruits of that turning around, right? We could even call it GPS, the grief pattern system.
Yeah.
You name it, or the grief pattern solution. Okay. So here I am with a son that's 22 years old that will never experience what I've experienced in my life. My daughter is 24. She does very well. My niece, I raised her since she was 4. She's 26. And this is my life now. I've got a successful business. And now I want to help people just break their patterns. So go ahead if you
Well,
want to
Mickey, I
say.
mean, I'm looking at you and I can see the light shining through you. So, you definitely have that energy of love and of caring and of wanting to share that with the world. So I'm amazed by you, and I'm thrilled that you're here. And I would like to know more about what your techniques are, or what it is that you do with people when they come to you and say, "Help me, I'm in grief."
Absolutely. I'm gonna actually share with you guys the things not to do and the things to do.
Okay, good.
Because a lot of people come to me with a solution. What I do is I get to the root first of the problem before I give you a different fruit. So if we deal with the root, we'll have a different fruit, right? Because people they change their behavior, they want to learn more. There's nothing wrong with it. They want to learn more knowledge and knowledge and knowledge. But the very first thing we got to do is recognize the pattern of grief.
Mhm.
If we don't recognize the pattern of grief, then what we're doing is we're resisting that grief that is happening. So there's a few things that I want to share with you guys just really quickly about what grief is and what grief is not, right? I already told you that grief is a conflicting feelings. It's not just death, right? People think, oh, I lost, and it is death. I mean, death of a loved one, but it's also moving.
Mhm.
I don't know, moving causes grief.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't know that being in a relationship when I was single and I became married, that's such conflicting feelings, change of a pattern. That was
Exactly.
also a loss of a job, gaining a job, increasing an income. People don't get that because when say you don't have that much money and all of a sudden you come from a lump sum of money, you're grieving and you want to usually go back to what's normal, right? That's why most lottery winners, guess what? They go broke after
Right.
only 3 years,
It's
right?
amazing. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's that grief that we're talking about, and it shows up on our reaction. It shows up on the way we're avoiding, right? So number one, we if you don't resist, if you resist your grief, you're reinforcing your false belief. So the second thing we get to do is we stop relying on the myths. What are the myths? Okay, I have an accent, so if it's myths, I have a hard time with that one. But there's about a few of them that I'm going to name you. Don't feel bad. I've learned that as a kid. So if you start telling yourself, don't feel bad, right? Or in time, I'll feel better. Time heals all wounds. I'm sure you heard of that one,
Sure.
right? Time doesn't heal all wound. It's what you do in time, right? Or be strong. Be strong for other people. Be strong for yourself. So now all of a sudden, I need to be strong. I remember when my best friend died, right? And I had this knowledge because before I was strong, I was the gangster that was strong, right? But when I was strong, I was completely weak inside. And I remember when my best friend died, his mother was there and she was taking care of everybody. And I says, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm just trying to be strong for everybody." I says, "No, you don't. I need you to sit down. I need you to be able to grieve. I'll take care of whatever." And then I found myself being strong. And I'm like, "No, you go take care of this person." Oh, sure. It's so easy to quote unquote be strong, right? So there's be strong or keep busy is another one,
Right.
and I just got to get busy. And if I'm busy enough, then I won't even have to deal with any of these things, right? So these are some of the things that we do that I want you to recognize that are not right, right? So if you find yourself doing it, then you know that you're grieving. It's not to beat yourself up, right? Because if you retain, the last point is retaining unresolved grief. Why do we retain it? Grief, I think, has a lot to do with forgiveness, right? Because if you're not letting go of something about that relationship, that whether you wanted to be like, I'm going to give my example. Okay. My mother, I loved her. She was like everything to me. She was drinking though. But you know what I did? I enshrined her. What does it mean to enshrine? I put her in a pedestal and I was honest. I'm sorry, I was honoring her, but not really honest with what I felt.
Hmm.
And that's a problem. If you're going to solve your grief, you have to look at the person for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's hard because when you love somebody, we've been taught don't speak ill of the deaf, right? Don't speak bad of the dead
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So we enshrine the person or we bedevil the person. That means that you only think about the negative things, nothing good, like my dad, right? It was nothing good about it. And then when I was going through this process, it says, well, this will cause you to retain your grief. Okay. So because there is unforgiveness there when you can't see the full picture, because you cannot be healed with a lie. You can only be healed with the truth. So that part was hard for me because I love my mom. And I said, if I say anything, then it's going to mess up. No, my relationship with my mother is actually way better than it's ever been. She's dead since I was 12. It doesn't change. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's frozen in time. It actually, I am better in my relationship with my mother and my father that I forgave, right? While he was alive. He died also. But they don't direct me anymore. In my head, I have two types of parents. I have a critical parent and I have a compassion loving parent. They're all inside my head and directing me, still directing me to this day. So if I have any unresolved issues, unresolved grief, it will fuel that GPS,
Sure.
right?
I would like to just make 2 points.
Sure,
The forgiveness piece is very difficult for some people to understand.
sure.
And how I understand of forgiveness, the way that I view it, is accepting that everyone is human, everyone will make a mistake, everyone will hurt someone or hurt themselves at some time in their life. And we just have to allow people to be human
Yeah.
and let some of that go and let them be on their journey, and we take care of our own journey as well. So is that close to what you're?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you even more of a definition because one of the points, I give you 3 points that are like, what not to do. Now I'm gonna tell you what to do. The first, well, since you're talking about forgiveness, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go into releasing the unresolved grief,
Okay.
releasing it. And it's interesting because if I'm releasing, if my hands are like this, then I'm holding on to something. Releasing means opening, right? So you talked about grief. I mean, I'm sorry, forgiveness. Forgiveness is letting go of a better, different yesterday. That's a simple way of putting it.
Okay.
Letting go of a better, different yesterday because we want things to be, and there's the many definition of forgiveness. That's just something simple for me to remember. But we want something that the person would have done that were different, right? And we don't understand that at times I thought forgiveness, when they told me about forgiving my dad, I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you joking? Because I thought forgiveness was condoning.
Yeah, yeah.
Before I was you, no. So if forgiveness is letting go of a different way that I thought yesterday should have been, right? A lot, not forgiveness is to resent what happened yesterday.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And if I resent, and it is true, because if I forgive, then I'm able to see people for who they are, right? Like exactly what you said. But if I hold on to resentment, the word resentment is R-E and then sentir, it's the French words, which refilling the feelings over and over again. It's repeating.
Right.
So when I resent, I'm hurting me more than the person, right? But it's the reason I believe the reason why it's so hard for people to forgive is because they don't understand what forgiveness is. They feel like I'm never going to forgive this person because I'm never going to forgive what they did. Forgiving is not forgetting. You're never going to forget. I don't forget what happened to me, but I don't allow. And by the way, forgiveness is not a one time and done thing. It's like taking a shower or breathing. You want to do it all the time. I forgive my dad a billion times. He says, but Mickey, why would you forgive your dad a billion times if you already forgive him? It should be done. No, it's different layers. I have different layers of pain. And every time I forgive, my heart trusts me to give me more pain to forgive.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So yeah, so hopefully that forgiveness part is making sense because
Well,
I had a hard time with that
I would
one.
think that you would because a lot of people do. It's not an easy concept to grasp, and we are still stuck in our pain.
Yep.
And to be stuck in your pain also means that you're still, creating those neural pathways and everything else that you're not going to heal physically or emotionally or spiritually or mentally if you have all of these things going on all the time, replaying, replaying, replaying.
Very, very true.
Now, the second thing I wanted to mention was your relationship with your mother. And the one transformative thing that someone said to me many, many years ago was that death doesn't end a relationship.
Sure.
And that's just what you said, that you're still in
Absolutely.
relationship with this person who has passed.
Yeah, because I'm so sorry. Go ahead, finish
No, no,
that.
no, no, go ahead.
It's true because one of the points is recognize the grief pattern.
Yeah.
That's the thing to do. Because the grief pattern intertwines itself in everywhere. It intertwines yourself in your relationship, how you respond. If you find yourself being angry all the time, there's unresolved grief. If you find yourself trusting and people pleasing, then there's unresolved grief. I mean, I could give you like, you're like, okay, I got some. So, but the beautiful thing about number one, I had to recognize it, but then also I had to redirect the belief that I have with grief, right? So you recognize you also redirect the belief that I have to with grief. Now, because of my relationship with my mother, right, it was a beautiful relationship, but she did hurt me. I had to face that pain. Like she left when I needed her because of that unresolved grief, I became the rescuer. I started putting, I call it the Mother Teresa syndrome, when you help everybody, but you don't help, or the Father for Teresa for my, right? So I became a savior and a rescuer, and I attracted victims in my life because the relationship with my mother was incomplete. There's a word, complete. When it's incomplete, you're going to create relationships, people, businesses, anything to try to complete that relationship with someone else. So once I start healing that part and I completed that part, my relationship with grief and my relationship with my mother was way better. Why? Because I still carry okay, I carry her care the way she cared for people. What I do now is partially my father and my mother. Here's how I see it. My mother was caring, and that's how I do. I care for people. My father was an entrepreneur, a business, because you gotta have a business, right? So he was structured in a sense, and he was very on time. As you could tell, I'm on time all the
Yes.
time, right? So I could learn from the people that caused me pain when my pain is resolved.
So is that, which step is that in the fixing this? I think I interrupted
So
your pattern there.
no, and that's the reshaping, kind of like, okay, like when you reshape your pain, right? Like when you reshape your belief about grief, because there is treasure in grief, right? So number one, recognize the grief pattern, you know, and don't shame yourself by recognizing. We talked about the grief pattern. That means whenever, whether you're being too busy or you're trying to be strong, right? Or you're putting on some mask. There's several masks that we put on. There's a super successful mask. I wore that mask, or the underachiever mask, right? Or the Mother Teresa mask, or the gangster, the bad boy mask, or the womanizer mask. I've
That's a
wore
lot of
all of
masks.
these
Yeah.
masks,
Yeah.
right?
That's a lot of
Trying to
hiding.
cover. I did it as a kid and I do it as an adult,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes I wear a mask. I don't even know I wore a mask. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, that was a mask. Where did that come from? So recognize that grief pattern. And second is reframe your grief belief, the belief about your grief. You reframe it by what we just talked about, that it's okay to feel. You know what I mean? It's okay. And know that grief is a friendly, it's seasonable, it's a season. So that means it does end, right? It has an end because I thought it would never end. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean it doesn't come back with waves, right? Like, and I'm okay. Here's the one thing too about crying, because I was told not to cry. I'm okay crying now. I cry a lot. I'm surprised I didn't cry in this podcast, but I'm going to be speaking tomorrow and I know that I'm going to cry and my family's going to be in front of me. So, but I used to be ashamed of crying. I used to not like crying. I felt like it was weakness and all that. So, my relationship with my grief is different now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I say, when I get triggered, I don't get mad. I say pathway to something that is not resolved that I get to do. I get to find out the true me. And if I didn't get that trigger, then I would not know who the true me is. You have, how do we, a counterfeit bill? How do people really think about it? A counterfeit bill, like at the bank, I was told this. Like, how do you know? I asked the teller, how do you know this is a counterfeit bill? It's not by looking at the counterfeit, it's by looking at the true bill. You you focus on the original, not the counterfeit.
Right.
So, but in order for me to see the original, I have to have a counterfeit. So these trigger is the counterfeit me. When I get angry, when I don't want to feel, it's the counterfeit Mickey. I call it Mikki 1.0. The Mikki 2.0 is the original one. So, anyways, so when we reframe our belief about our grief, and lastly, we release the unresolved grief, which we talked about, which is the forgiveness part,
Okay.
right? We release because there are people attached to every pain. Okay, I'll, and if you have any questions about it, I was going to tell you about what, like, also something just a little extra. Patterns are something that keeps repeating itself with or without you. You know what a pattern is, everybody knows. But a pattern is based on unresolved grief. Okay, so if you have patterns in your life, usually a pattern usually attracts a person that will remind you of the person that hurt you. A pattern also we attract a problem. So you're going to repeat that problem as well. And a problem also will show you a way of processing your pain. And lastly, a problem will absolutely repeat a pain. So if you see this, this is a pattern breaking, a pattern, you see, the same people that shows up in my life, the same problem that shows up in life. Oh, I'm processing it the same way. Oh, I'm repeating the same pain. I've got a pattern, and it's connected to grief.
Perfect.
So I think we're about to wrap it up with our time, right?
It sounds like it, but what I'm going to say is that you made that very clear for people, and probably in ways that they never heard it before, and that will enlighten them and open up some space for them to breathe about this and start to heal. So, Mikki, what I normally do is tell people I will put all kinds of links below so that people can find you and whatever else, whatever information you want to share with people. And I'm going to ask you, will you come back? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, people will
Absolutely.
have questions, people will
Yeah.
respond, and if we want to have this space, we need to feed this space. We need to have
Yeah.
people that are willing to come in and hear what's going on in people's hearts.
You
So
know what would be cool too? I'm just saying, like to have like to I don't know, I just threw it out there. I know this is your show. I'm not gonna take over your
go
show.
ahead, come
But you know
on.
what would be very cool to have somebody else in and then I could help them break a pattern live with you guys. It
That would
would
be
be
great. If anybody
phenomenal.
agrees to do that, sure, we could
Yeah.
absolutely do
Or I
that.
could bring my own people to do
You do that. You do that. We have
it.
we
So we'll
everything
talk.
everything is by Zoom. I'm on the East Coast, you're on the West
Yeah.
Coast. All of this can happen in real time nowadays where it couldn't before, unless it was done with pen and paper by letter or by, a telephone call. So yes, I would absolutely welcome that. And I adore you. I think you're wonderful, and I'm grateful for you. And I'm so glad you came today.
Thank you. I
So
received that. And thank you for having me. Thank you for having, and whoever is listening to this, you came at the right time at the right place. And I truly believe this. You are not hearing this but you're it's not a default setting, it's a design setting. And that little child inside of you, that little girl, that little boy inside of you, it led you here because that little boy, that little girl that's grieving is so tired of looking at life in a glass mirror. And it's pushing you to be here. So congratulations of being here. Keep going. Wherever you're going, keep going.
thank you for that message. So I'm going to say thank you again and bye for now. And hopefully it won't be too long before we see you again.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
I'll see
Nikki.
you then.